I don't know if you've ever felt so intensely about someone that it's like they're all that's real to you. They take up the horizon of your world, that all you want to do is simply be with them. Well, that's a little bit like Jesus in this passage. And he's asking his disciples, are you going to stay or are you going to leave? I want you, but do you want me? Now we're coming back into John's Gospel here, and Jesus is on his last night with his disciples. He knows he's not going to be physically present with them, and so he's giving them words of encouragement, words of inspiration. And as he does so, he wants them to keep on going when he's not there face to face with them. Because he knows it's going to get tough. It's going to be hard. Suffering is going to come. And so his question to them, when the going gets tough, are you going to leave or are you going to stay? Are you going to stick with faith or are you going to go away? And it's the same for us too. When trouble comes, when suffering hits us, when pain isn't a philosophical puzzle, but it's a hospital wristband, are we going to leave Jesus then? As we look through John 15 now, we're going to hone in on one word that Jesus uses. It's the word remain. It's remain or stay or abide. The Greek word meno, and it threads through everything Jesus is saying. Jesus uses the word in three specific ways, three grammatical moods here, and we're going to look through them. So first we're going to look at the indicative. Where are we? Our location. Secondly, we're going to look at the imperative, what we do. And then third, what's called the subjunctive, what could happen, and our choice. Well, first of all, where we are in Jesus. Jesus says this, I am the vine, you are the branches. That is, Jesus is defining faith as something which is a very strong connection, an intimate connection. Later on he goes to say in verse 15, I have called you friends. That idea of closeness, of connection. Now, immediately, this challenges some of the popular ways that we might think of faith. And I think it does this in two really big ways. And we're going to have a sidebar on this, just so that we can clear the ground before we start building up. One way that we sometimes think about faith in the contemporary world is it doesn't really matter what you believe as long as you're sincere. Maybe we talk about the universe helping us along. Maybe we talk about a sort of divine energy. And that's some of the way, but it's not all of the way. Because Jesus is talking about himself here. He's talking about himself as the way to know God. A real person, a historical person, not a vague spirituality. Something which is real. But alongside that, there's another error in thinking about faith. We can think that the Christian message is a really useful set of principles for organizing life, a great framework for thinking about the contemporary world so that we can have a good morality and a good life. This challenges that idea of faith because of the sense of connection here, of closeness, of exchange. Faith can't simply be a vague spirituality. Faith can't be a rationalistic mindset, because faith is about knowing God. And it's about knowing a person. Only a person can love us. A framework can't love us. The universe as a whole can't love us. Only in a person can we receive love. Being in Jesus means being united to God through him and knowing God himself. Yes, it's mystical, but it's rooted in the real world, in a historical person who actually existed Jesus. But being found in Jesus is mysterious, and it's beautiful and wonderful. The Bible offers a lot of very tangible images to ground this great sense of being united to God through Jesus. So you find it in Paul. In all his letters, he mentions this phrase, being in Christ, 160 times. It's central to him. And he uses images like new clothes or a marriage or a temple or parts of a body to give us a sense of this connection, this union. In other Gospels, there's images of pregnancy, of bread and of wine. And here in John's Gospel, the image of the vine. It's long used as an image of ancient Israel, and yet here it describes what it means to be in Jesus himself. I am the vine, says Jesus, and you are the branches. That is, Jesus is the center. It's Jesus who provides strength, who provides nourishment, who provides structure. The sap flows from the vine into the branches, giving them life, helping them be fruitful, helping them grow grapes. Without the vine, the branches are lifeless. But with the vine, there's beauty, there's blessing, there's joy. For everyone who has a connection to Jesus, the life of Jesus flows to them, filling them, the life which death cannot destroy. And so this word, this meno, this remaining in him, staying in him, abiding in him, having this close relationship with Jesus where you're fused together, this is how God draws us close to him. One famous Christian writer put it like this, in striking terms: as long as Christ remains outside of us, all that he has suffered and done remains useless and of no value to us. Therefore, he had to become ours and dwell within us. He had to become united to us. But there's a wonderful truth here. For everyone who believes in him, he has become ours. It has already happened. He is our life. He is our hope. He is our joy and our everything. He has come and made his home within us. He has pursued us. He has claimed us as his own. We are his. We are one with him. All of his sweetness, all of his freshness, all of his life, that's ours now. All of his goodness, all of his righteousness, credited to us on our account. The very loving gaze which the Father has for the Son, well, that now rests on us too, as we are seen in him. We are connected to him. We're entwined with him. He has wrapped himself around us. He is our springtime, the warmth which pierces the frost of death with unyielding love. And now, that living sap, yes, that living sap, we're mainlining it, the very joy of heaven, the life of God. If we're in Jesus, it's ours. What an expansive vision of life, what an electrifying vision of life, what a hopeful vision of life. And if you wouldn't call yourself a Christian today, I wonder if that sort of life appeals to you. That sort of life, that sort of love. Is that something you'd like to join in with? Does it stir longing within you? So that's our first point. Where we are, our location, it's in Jesus. But second, it's also about what we do. And that's all about love. Jesus doesn't simply explain what it means to be in him, to be connected to him, to have faith in him. He goes a step further because he's more impassioned than that. He just doesn't let it lie. He urges us and commands us as well. Don't go. Stay. Take a look with me. Verse 4. Jesus says, remain in me. Verse 9, he says, remain in my love. Verse 12, my command is this, love each other. Verse 17, this is my command, love each other. Jesus is telling us to do things. He's commanding us here. This is an imperative form of stay. But it's wonderful, isn't it? Being in Christ, it's all about love. And I think most of us want to celebrate the fact that love gets right to the heart of what Christianity's all about. But Jesus surprises me here, because the love that he talks about isn't some sort of individual spiritual experience. He talks about love as something shared. For Jesus, when the love of God is genuinely present, it grows into our relationships with others. Jesus actually grounds God's love in other people, in our fellow humans. And he talks about loving others in terms of friendship and sacrifice as well. Well, today is Remembrance Sunday. I don't know if earlier on you were taking that 2 minutes of silence or not. There's another chance on the 11th if you missed out this time. And on this day, we remember those who've died in war. And the words of that remembrance ceremony contain reference to the very words that we've read out from this gospel. Greater love has no one than to lay down their life for their friends. So sacrifice was rooted in the temple, but here, and for many of us today, it has the sense of one thing dying so that another thing can live. And Jesus' death on the cross is our ultimate version of this, and something that we're going to celebrate later in bread and wine. But Jesus applies this not just to himself, but to our common life as well. Yes, today we reflect on sacrifice in the context of protecting others from harm through armed combat. And as we do that, we observe that there's something within human instinct that reflects the pattern of our Creator, a love which sacrifices itself for others, a love which offers up its life so others can live. Well, we might say, why is Jesus talking about love alongside sacrifice? Love each other, he says, and then he talks about sacrifice. Why is that? Well, the reason is that life together isn't always easy. We rub up against each other. We're flawed. We're frustrating. It's not always easy. Sometimes we might be tempted to think, well, I can just be a Christian by myself, can't I? I don't need to go to church. I don't need other Christians. I can pray by myself. I can pray anywhere. I can listen to worship music. Church is difficult sometimes, or a drag. But Jesus doesn't let us take that perspective, because for him, love is not mawkish or sentimental, it's not idealistic, it's real. There's real grit in there, and this hint of sacrifice. You see, you can't love people if you avoid them, if you keep your distance, if you're uninvolved. There's a sense of commitment here, isn't there? Love each other, and real love involves sacrifice. There's a shared struggle here, this command to love, a high ideal. And yet we don't do this alone, because he gives us each other. For Jesus here, the reality is that as he's asking us to stay with him, he's asking us to stay with each other as well. Remaining with Jesus means remaining with his people. So that's where we are in Jesus. That's what we do, the command to love, which can involve sacrifice. But third, what could happen and our choice. Jesus doesn't simply explain what it means to be in him. He doesn't just tell us what to do. He tells us of the consequences of staying or leaving in if language. So look with me, verse 5. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Verse 6. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away. Verse 7. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish. Verse 10. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love. There's both a positive and a negative here of a forked path that Jesus is offering. If you stay, there'll be life, there'll be lasting fruit, there'll be goodness. If you leave, you will wither, and ultimately there is only one place that life is to be found. Now, it's important not to get the balance wrong here, because Jesus is explaining far more about his own goodness and kindness than giving any sort of threat. Listen to him about the love and the longing he's expressing. You are already clean. Ask whatever you wish. You are my friends. I have told this so that my joy can be in you. I chose you and appointed you so you might go and bear fruit. Jesus is offering so much here. And yet there's a choice that he's outlining, a choice that he's giving. Or rather, it's not so much that he's giving a choice, it's not so much he's forcing us to decide for him or for against him. It's that at some point, life will force that choice upon us. It did for the disciples, and it will at some point for us as well. We can see this when Jesus starts talking right at the beginning about pruning. In verse 1 and 2, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts. The reality of life involves sharp pain. It involves feeling like you've been ripped apart sometimes, torn in two, cut to your heart. That's the context of the Bible, that's the context of our lives. And in the midst of that, when we don't have Jesus right next to us, when he's not physically present, what do we do? When life cuts at us, do we go or do we stay with him? Imagine now being a branch. You're connected to the main stem of the vine. The mellow scents of late summer have faded, and autumn is rolling onwards. The chill starts to bite, and you, the plant, become dormant for the winter season. You think it's time for a rest, time for sleep. The gardener has other ideas, and the knife comes out. Sharp, shining, slice. The number of buds are reduced. And this makes no sense, does it? Not to the branch. You're getting rid of the good stuff. You're getting rid of all the buds. That's the stuff we want. But it's severed with cold steel. The dead wood is cut right away. The branch says, that's still part of me. You're killing me here. It's not very pleasant. The branch does not feel very well disposed towards this gardener who's doing crazy things that don't make sense, things that hurt. And the winter branch wonders if it really wants to be part of this vineyard anymore. But spring always comes. Psychologically, when we feel abandoned or rejected, the number one human strategy is to flip this right back, to cut ourselves off from the source of rejection. So we might abandon quicker and harder and stronger than others have tried to leave us. to run away, far away. Or we might fight and show them that we never really wanted them anyway, not really. We do this to other people, and we do it to God as well. When it feels like God has left us, that he's abandoned us in pain, that life isn't going according to plan. And we ask him why. Why did you let this happen to me? Why does things seem to go so wrong? And we wonder if it's worth it. If this Christianity business is just was a nice idea back in the day when everything went well, but now I don't know. The choice will be presented to the disciples as it is to all of us. Will we stick with Jesus? When it comes down to it, when life hurts, will we choose him or will we not? And this is the real knife edge, the real sharpness. Will we run away and scatter when faced with pressure, when faced with doubt, when faced with difficulty? Or will we seek his faith all the more? I don't know. Maybe today this is a choice that feels very real for you. And yet the very fact that he gives us a choice, that within the great frame of his choice, he allows us to say if we want him or not. He has made not equivocated about the fact that he wants us, that he loves us, that we set his heart on fire. And yet the patience of a God who wants us so much and yet waits for us to want him, to return his love. What a kind Lord who doesn't force himself upon us in his power, but waits and sticks with us through the darkness, through the pain, through the Good Fridays, so that Easter light might rise in us. So, let's review where we've been to. In John 15, we've been thinking about Jesus' words to us, words of encouragement, words of inspiration, words of choice as well. And the question is, will we stay or will we go? To remain in Jesus means having a life in him, to be united with him in love, to have a relationship with him, this deep knowing, this deep connection. But that relationship is not something we're called to do alone. Remaining with Jesus means remaining with his people. It means loving others. It means sacrifice as well. And when the tough times come, when we ask God why and we seem to receive no answer, what will we choose? Will we choose to stay with Jesus, or will we decide to leave him? But there's one more thing that must be said, because we know that the very same night that Jesus spoke these words, his disciples did run away. They didn't stay. They didn't remain with him. They didn't stick with Jesus through the suffering. And yet, despite that, Jesus did not give up on them. He walked alone the path to bear their sin, their shame, the weight of their abandonment. He stayed, and his staying gathers up all our giving away. He stayed true to the very end and entered the great pit of abandonment on their behalf, on our behalf, in the place where every other loyalty goes to die. Jesus burned brighter than ever until he consumed that dread place, making an eternal sunrise out of death, painted blood red across time. And he returns to his disciples in resurrection light, and he finds them. And his first words to these very same disciples who ran away and left him is this: peace. And so, For all who have run from him, for all who have failed him, for all who have left him, he is the God of pursuit, the great hound of heaven who treads with unhurried haste, with deliberate speed. And he will not give up on you. He wants fellowship with you. And to you, Jesus speaks that one word, peace. Yet the question remains, the choice remains for each of us. Will we stay or will we go?